Okay, take 2,000, 10, 100, a million, billion. So, I'm Minister of M. I am energy and matter and movement, and I'm ministering that. And the reason why I'm dressed up in this garb is because there are billions of people out there who believe in ecclesiastical standing. Now, the reason why they believe in ecclesiastical standing, obviously, is because they've been indoctrinated with it, and it's their belief that we're talking to when we go in with our own definitions of all of it, of universally. So whether we're talking about ecclesiastical standing, then we've got our Minister Moven in place of anything that they might like to use as a legal title to claim the jurisdiction of your soul. Because you are demonstrating your capacitated mind now, you know what's going on, you know that you have a legal fiction, and you, by using it, you are committing fraud. You know, therefore, that if you do knowingly commit fraud, it's far greater problematic for everybody if you do that and you're knowingly committing a crime than it is if you are unconsciously doing it. None of us have got that excuse anymore. We know that that legal fiction, the title of the capitalised version of the given name, is not yours to use. It's a copyrighted logo owned by Crown Corporation, and anybody who wishes to can see that at the bottom of their own birth certificate. Now, you using the name causes you to come away from your divine contract that you have with the creator of the universe, of you, and you give consent to a system to initiate, which has the Vatican sitting at the top of it all. Now, you've just said, I don't know what's going on. When you use that name, you're saying, I don't know what's going on. I am a legal minor. I just granted my consent to of all of the rights of my equitable estate that it was supposedly held in trust and granted through the birth certificate to be operated by the trustees being Crown Corporation. Now, those terms and conditions of the Sesquitervie Act, where you need to be identified as being alive every year for the first 7 years of your life, otherwise you no longer are a master or mistress of your own estate. The estate is claimed as unclaimed estate by the Vatican as bona vacanta, and you are nothing more than a dead thing, lost at sea from 7 years old. So when you go in the court and you declare yourself and claim that legal fiction as being you, you have committed fraud upon your soul. You've just dished yourself up on a plate to the Vatican and named your trustees as Crown Corporation, for example, or any other country, whether they say that they're not operating a trust or not, the structure is the same. And under the Indenture Act, you can see where a corporation is able to be created to act as a trust. But obviously it can't be, because it's not a trust. You can't trust a corporation. So what you're doing is you're actually taking back your consent. When you assign your consent on the Universal Law Community Trust site, you're giving yourself back the consent. So when you go in or you are asked to identify yourself, you are going to now demonstrate a capacitated mind, which rebuts one of the 12 presumptions that they're making over you, which is that you don't know what's going on. You're a ward of court, you're a legal minor, and therefore you need to be governed. So obviously you can't be trusted then to operate your own estate. You've just exemplified to the court that you don't know what's going on, that you didn't even know you had an estate, and that all of that in a packet gives them the consent to be able to presume the jurisdiction over you and your rights. And then you have got the wonderful position as being the debtor, which then you have to buy back your rights as privileges through their system. Now, what you're doing is you're separating these two parts of you that they have integrated, incorporated. So the corporate name, when you see it with a hyphen, it means incorporated with the surname. Now the surname in its capitalized form is obviously your mother didn't look at you and say, hey, what a beautiful baby I've got, I'll call it last name first, first name last, capitalized letters with a couple of hyphens in there. She just called you Fred or Lucy or whatever. And so the capitalization of the given name obviously birthed capitalism. And we thought that we didn't have any choice in the matter, that this is always just the way it is because it's always the way it's been, so it's always going to be that way. And in fact, that when you actually step up to the metal and you say, right, okay, I'm not going to define myself. I know that this system only exists because I grant my universal source energy to it, and I say, yes, I agree to this shit. So I'm going to buy this, buy all my rights back when they've been toxified, my water, my gas, my electricity, my resources, my food, my energy is corrupted inside the stock exchange through me consenting to use a title that isn't mine, so that I can disclose all of the information about myself, so that that data can then be compiled to create a virtual you. And then we take that virtual you and we bring it to reality. We take we bring fiction to truth. And really what we need to do is stop for ourselves from committing this fraud upon ourselves, first of all. Very nice. So this hopefully is going to help you get a perspective that's at a different angle from the one where you've been inheriting these liabilities by staking your claim, committing fraud. Under the Theft Act, you can see that the definition of attempted theft is to claim the rights that belong to somebody else or attempt to. Now, that's what we've actually been doing all the time. We've been saying, that's me, that's me, that's me for the legal name. That's my houses, that's my legal title, that's my legal fiction. And all the while we've been unconsciously creating this fictional so-called reality. And wondering how the hell did all of this happen? Well, it happened through our unconscious consent. And so by assigning your rights, you've got another role. Minister Omaven then holds all the rights in reserve and comes into, you want to commit commerce now, here we come, and these are our charges, and this is what you owe us so far. So by going into the court, you're seizing the jurisdiction of the court under universal law, and it not even seizing it just by you being there in presence, and so you everywhere you go, you're standing on universal law. It flows through you. You won't accept anything else as law, because it's not. You know the difference between legal systems and the law, and you're going to uphold it no matter what it costs, or you think that it costs you. So when you do actually go in, we suggest that you dress the part, and we're not talking about handcuffs and collars, which obviously denote slavery. We're talking about going in there, and you're working with the minds of these people. Anybody can do this. This is what we're saying. Anybody can come along and claim the jurisdiction of themselves, and you are ministering yourself. Now, in our situation, obviously, we've got the people who we act on the behalf of, because the people come to the court with us and they say, we've assigned our rights to that man or woman, and so that they have no way of misinterpreting any documents that we might have already served. Now that visually, that rebuts it completely, dissolves their implied authority that they've got, and the trust that they've created, or that they're trying to administer, malminister, is now therefore dissolved. You've just dissolved it. they haven't got any standing, because they only get their standing from you signing your consent to them. And it is true, we are ruled by consent, but where people don't even know what their consent consists of. They think it's going down and just putting an X in a box and that's it, against a legal fiction name. That's not, you have, when you use that name, you've got no consent to give. And that's why we end up with a situation, which is what we've got at the moment, with a bunch of criminals sitting there writing whatever the hell they like, and us inheriting the liabilities of that. So the way that a trust works, the liabilities are supposed to have been discharged by your trust, and because the Crown Corporation are no longer a trust, they can't have the accounts assigned to them because they're not standing surety. So in the document, in the assignment of consent, you'll read that it mentions Mercantile Law Amendment 5, which is where all parties who are standing surety to the accounts are to have all accounts passed to them with or without a court order. Now obviously these people, the HMRC, the Treasury Solicitor, all of them, they're laundering the information, and they don't want to give those up. But they only have information to launder if you give it to them. So we are the culprits in this matter, because if we continuously, yes, I've got this, yes, I've got this, I've got the right of use of this, I need to tell you about this, I need you to give you all of this information so that you can then send me a bill for it, or fine me for not having it in a particular format that you required my existence to be in. So by you not using that name, you're assigning the right of use, which is what the legal title should have given you but didn't. The title of the holder of the title was to discharge all of the liabilities. So we agreed to all of this, our resources to be held in trust by us, so that they would never, so that commercialism could exist without it stepping into our private realm. And obviously they've became a corporation and swapped the roles around so that your trust is being operated, your shares of this planet and its resources being operated for the profit of the shareholders, which you actually are, but you can't go and claim the shares, can you? Because they're all created in a name that doesn't belong to you. So even if you went along, we've had a lot of people saying, oh, I've gone and claimed my estate, how do I claim my estate? You are the estate. Your mind is either the unsecured or the secured party. Your credit, the things that you choose to support and fund within the choices that you make every day, are driving the stock exchange. You're the stock on the stock exchange. So send a message to that market and have the trust fund managers of Coutts Bank and JP Morgan then suddenly investing in organic food or in free energy, for example, because you won't settle for anything else. If we are all like this and, okay, I'm okay with the Coca-Cola, then Coca-Cola is going to be for future generations. So by us saying, not boycotting, because even these words are like, you're just opting out. You're just not going to credit it. You've taken your credit. I'm a creditor. I've got immense unlimited value and potential worth, which is all being gambled on the stock exchange without you knowing about. And you're going to make yourself an unquantifiable commodity on the stock exchange. They're not going to know what the hell to issue bonds with your reference numbers on, because the accounts are simply shut. They can't hedge their bets, can they? They can't do their hedge funding if they can't predetermine that what you're likely to do because of what you did before. Suddenly there's no information in there, bang, in goes Minister Amoven, and what have they got? Minister Amoven doesn't exist in their system, does it? They can't recognise it, can they? So, but when you walk in there, they recognise this, they recognise the ecclesiastical, and they perform, let's say, accordingly. You'll see it for your own eyes. We're providing people who have done their minister training with your outfits, if you want, and you can see the difference it makes upon the minds of the people that they're then going to interact with, and rightly so, because it's what we've done is we've copied. We've done a carbon copy of what they did, and we're operating it in the way that it should be. Instead of taking something that could have been so amazing for everybody, using 1% of your energy for 99% of your life, and instead at the moment we're using 99% of our overall energy to support 1% of this existence. So by turning it back on itself and operating and standing together as a trust, then you're going to be able to see a massive difference just by doing that.